So one of the things I love doing and I don't do enough of is making ephemera out of junk. This is the box where I keep paper and plastic junk and hope to one day use these things. I don't want to have more than fits in this box because this is already a lot. So let's pick some pieces that maybe we can make into something beautiful. I have many different things here. Lots of chocolate packaging, my favorite chocolate. Ooh, this kind of packaging is always great to make like a card or a tag out of. So maybe we'll just use that as a base. Then I already see here some fun red paper bag handles, which you might know I'm kind of obsessed with in any shape or color. These are really fun to use. What else can we use? Can we challenge ourselves to use one more piece? This is foil from a helium balloon. This is too Christmassy. This is really cool, but I don't really want to cut this up. This is a plastic bag, and I think one day I will cut it up. I don't know, let's take it out. Maybe today's the day, let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, I really love these. These are also from a paper bag, as you can see. There's still the handles on this. But I just love this bold font and the black and white. Okay, let's take this out. Then maybe we won't need this one. Okay, so what can we do with all of this? Since this is our base, let's start off with that. This has a glossy or semi-glossy coating, which is not great for our purpose. So, oh look, here it's already coming off. So maybe we'll just use that. Oh look, as a feature to just peel this off. Yay! That was easy. Okay, so that's perfect. Now we just have to decide what do we want as a front. I'm going to have to cover both sides because neither of these are pretty, meaning that we also need to do something with this. And well, we can see if we can also peel this one off. The question is, will it be sturdy enough? Yeah, I think it might. Okay. Ooh. I mean, ooh, it's actually quite flimsy now. Maybe that was not the best decision, but we're in it now. Now it feels like a cardstock, basically. If I would not have been able to peel this off, I would have taken some sandpaper and sanded around until the glossy coating was off. Why do we need to take it off at all? Because usually whatever you put on it is not going to adhere well to a glossy surface. So next I'm going to adhere some of this to my base. I would have loved to keep this hole here on the top because that's such a cute shape. And that would have been possible if I would have just painted over this, but since I want this over it, there's not really a way that I can think of that I can cut out this shape to look as nice as this. So we're just going to ignore it and maybe punch a hole just through the middle here later. So I'm going to take my matte gel by Liquitex. I like this because, as the name says, it's matte. You could also take matte Mod Podge, or if you don't mind glossy, you can also just take a thinned down PVA glue. So I'll just cover this whole piece. Then I'll cut around the shape. Actually, for this stage, it doesn't matter if it's glossy or not because it's on the back side, but I will also be covering the front here with the matte gel, and that I definitely don't want glossy. That will again, of course, also strengthen our base, which is great. Okay, so then let's cover the whole thing. Again, this will strengthen it, and also it will prime my surface for whatever comes next. If I want to add a lot of liquids, this will react very differently to if I just leave the paper bag, where I never know how it's going to react, how much it's going to soak in, depending on what paper is used. And with this, I know that the sprays or paint or whatever I put on is going to stay on the surface and will be much easier to blend if I decide to blend the colors. I don't know yet what I'm going to do. Then just for fun, let's put it into this. Oh, wait, let's first check. This might be too large. Oh, no, it just fits. Okay, I want to put it into this embossing folder. So it's by Sizzix and Tim Holtz. The name is Dotted and the number is 666292. That's really a lucky fit. It helps with these to not put them in straight, but to angle them a little bit to get it better through the machine. And yes, I could have misted it with water first, but I don't think it's necessary. How cute! Love it. It always makes me so happy when I use the embossing folders because I don't use them enough. So yay. And what I'm just noticing now is you see these dots. We have the gray ones and we have some very light ones. Obviously there was some paint or probably some distress sprays inside that folder for some reason, which is now on here, which is totally fine. So my next step is to figure out my focal point, and what always works for me is birds. And I have some here that I think will work. I have showed this recently in my Plan With Me August video. I'll show you again the ISBN number because this is such a beautiful book. Look at these gorgeous images. So the ISBN number is here if you want to take a screenshot. And I've already chosen 3 that have potential. One is this one. The reason why I'm looking for red in my bird is because I want to use one of these paper bag handles, and I think that would be cute to pick that up. Although if the bird doesn't have any red, it's fine as well. We could always add something red underneath the bird as well, but let's see if we can find one that will work. So here's one option. Then this one, this cardinal, would be an option if I actually turn my card this way, because why not? I even put the writing this way, so that would totally make sense. And the third option is this guy. He's a bit more orange, but I still think that would work together really well. So I'll cut all 3 out and then we'll play with those. So I have my birdies cut out. I even cut out all of these little feathers here. I'm very proud of myself. Normally I don't have that kind of patience. So let's see which one works best here. Let's try our little orange friend here first. He gets a bit lost. This background is probably not going to stay the way it is. So I think currently any of these birds are going to get lost in this very bold print that we have on the background. But I'm just trying to see in terms of proportion. So I think he's a bit too small. And we have this guy. I think size-wise, he is perfect, and he also has the red. So he's definitely a good option. And then we have our cardinal. Which also works really well size-wise. I wish he was flipped this way so his head was in this more empty space, but it is what it is. So I'm torn between these 2. Let's move him away. I can use him for something else. So if we think of this, that would actually be really funny. I've never made a card or a tag with a handle like this. And if we go back to him, obviously this is too wide, so we'd have to fold that to make that work approximately like that. No, I like the other one. First I thought I was gonna take him, but actually now I love the cardinal and that the card is turned horizontally. Let's take the other one. We have this whole handle here. I love that. So the next thing I want to do is I want to make him pop more. I want the color to be more vibrant. And the best way and quickest way to do that is to add some clear embossing powder, or even I could try a red glaze maybe. Since the Distress Embossing glazes are translucent, we could also use a glaze instead of clear embossing powder. I think this one, which is the Candied Apple, pops most. Oof. And then we need another one for the beak and the legs. We can just do the clear one or maybe an orange one for the beak. We could try spiced marmalade for his beak and then just use transparent embossing powder for his feet, or maybe not even glaze his feet. That's another option. But first I want to ink him up because there are some white edges showing, which I really don't like. So I'm going to use ground espresso. I'll use a combination of the embossing dabber and the embossing pen for the more delicate areas. Alternatively, if you don't have any embossing powders, you could use a varnish, or you could even use clear nail polish. Maybe I shouldn't have put it over his eye. What do you think? That is super red. I'm so curious what that's going to look like once it has melted. I could probably get rid of that on his eye. Let's try it with a little paintbrush. Yeah. Otherwise he's going to look like a zombie cardinal. Okay, let's do this. I wanted more red. Here's more red. Moving on to his beak. And finally, we'll do his eye. So this is clear embossing powder now. And I'll leave his feet as they are. Okay, he definitely pops more. He's a lot more red now. So time to think about the background a little more. So I definitely want to push the black more into the background. One way to do that would be to add some white gesso, for example. But why don't we try to get a more vintage look by adding a tea bag on top? And I definitely have plenty of tea bags. I hope I don't lose my dots by doing that. We shall see. And this time I'm going to use my Liquitex Matte Medium, which is a lot thinner than the matte gel. So I'll just pour it directly on here. You see, this is super thin. Again, you could use Mod Podge instead. Or again, if you don't mind the glossy, you can use thinned down PVA glue. This was way too much, no surprise. So once that is dry, we can go ahead and cut away all the excess from the edges. By the way, completely off subject. On my lunch break now, I was just watching on Netflix Love on the Spectrum. I'm sure many of you have been watching. For those that have not, please give it a try. It is so heartwarming and cute. It's about young adults on the spectrum trying to find love. Oh my goodness, it is the cutest series. So they have a US version and an Australian version. I've watched the US one. There's just one season at the moment. And I've just finished the first season of the Australian one and started the second season. I could watch this all day long. It just warms my heart. Give it a try. Let me know. So the dots are still there, but I'm thinking they could be more prominent. I'm wondering if I could manage to put it in exactly in the same place. It would really have to be exact, otherwise I'm really going to mess this up. This is tricky. There's a huge possibility of messing this up. Oh, maybe it would help if I would put it in the right way. That makes more sense, Barbara. Oh yes! I think I got it in the right place. It feels like it's in the right place. I'm just gonna go for it. Let's see. No risk, no fun. Okay, I just ran it through the machine. Let's open it together. On the back, it looks good. Yes, I'm a genius. Looks very good. Love it. Okay, let's have another look. Definitely better than before, but still kind of a lot. Or, yeah, he's not coming out enough. So either we push the black further into the background, or we add like a collage or something underneath him to make him stand out more. I am curious to see what it would look like if I would very gently brayer over this with some titanium buff, so that hopefully it would mostly just end up on our raised elements. Now again, this could go horribly wrong. Ooh, no, it's good, it's good. Trying to cover more of the black here. So it has helped a little, but not as much as I had hoped. On camera, the black is even coming through a lot more than in real. So we need to keep going with this. I'm going to try Distress Oxide Sprays, Frayed Burlap, and Lost Shadow. And we'll see what that does. I'll just spray it on directly. And then maybe add some water. So now I see it almost took away too much of the writing on the background, because what's the point in having it if we're going to cover it all? So let's just take some of this away again, make some of that visible. So I'm quite happy with this now. I think that's a good balance. And what I would love to do, but I don't know if this is actually going to work, is since we have the red in the cardinal, wouldn't it be fun to have some of these raised dots also in the same red? But what I don't know is if that is actually going to work, because I feel some of these parts are a little sticky. Let's try one here on top and see if the embossing glaze will only stick there or whether it will stick everywhere. Yeah, see, it's sticking everywhere. That's what I was afraid of. Oh, but look, it brushes away everywhere except in that one place. Now that I did not expect. Okay, let's see what it looks like if we heat that up. And it worked. Oh my goodness, I did not think this would work. Okay, so let's do that. So I'll just choose some random dots. Let's do it in parts because I really don't see what's going on. I am so amazed with this. Look at that. So now we have this. I'm fascinated how that worked. So next I'm inking up the edges with ground espresso. Makes a huge difference. Okay, so off camera I put together these scraps because there still wasn't enough contrast for me. I'm not sure this is the ideal solution, but I'm going to go with it now because this took me quite a while, and you're welcome. You didn't have to watch me go through that. This piece here, I wanted to add because he needed something to grab onto, of course, otherwise he would have just been floating. And this is from bark from, whoops, from palm trees in Egypt. My hubby got me these pieces and I'm so happy with them. They're so fun to use in crafts. So I will glue all these down off camera and then we'll see what else we need. So as always, when you have a lot of little bits to glue down, I always start by connecting the bits and then adding glue on the back side and gluing the whole thing down. That makes it really so much easier than trying to glue each piece individually and trying to reconstruct where it was. And I just, yeah, I messed up a little bit because there's a gap here. So we need to find something for that gap. So before I glue these other two pieces down, I'm thinking there's almost too much contrast here. Oh, and this is not glued down well. So let's try to push our collage back just a little bit. Not enough to blend in the background, but just a little bit to make it a little less harsh. So I'm going to take some Lost Shadow Distress Oxide Spray. So I do believe that helped a little to take that starkness off. So next let's add our paper handle. I already cut these ends down a little bit. Clip these on till they hold well. And then I also want to add some beige cardstock behind it to give it a little frame. I think that will elevate the card a lot. Let's give it round edges and glue this on. So then I also want to add a sentiment, and I'm going to use this one that says "Don't forget to fly" from this stamp set, Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holtz, called Tiny Text with the number CMS 394. I'm going to stamp it on this scrap of a book page because it has a very similar color to my cardstock. And I'll stamp that with black archival ink. So there's our card made out of junk and a little bit of art supplies. Thank you so much for watching. Love you guys. Mwah! Mwah!